Captain America. I know Jeremy Johns did, but that's so much fun to do. Hey guys, it's Star Wars 360 here with my review of Captain America the Winter Soldier. I just saw it like a little while back and typed on my outline, and I'm here to do my review. But first, I'm going to give you my quick rundown of my thoughts on the first Captain America, Avengers, and I guess quickly my thoughts on the other movies in this new Marvel phase. Really enjoyed Captain America, the first Avenger. Again, I'll have a written review of Captain America and I guess Avengers down in the description below, since I think those are the two movies that most apply to this one. But I digress. So, first one, a lot of fun, really liked it. One of my favorite movies from the last phase. Avengers, I thought it was fun too. Not much action. Iron Man 3 I like. Thor, alright. It's fun though. This one, it's like For the Dark World, that it is fun, but there's a bit more morals. But at the same time, I feel like there's too much action. I wish they could have done more of this. It's a mixed bag, but again, to sum it up, I liked it. It was fun, but could have been more. So, before I go any further, I just want to say that I am going to go full spoilers in this movie. So, if you haven't seen Captain America: The Winter Soldier, I apologize in advance. I would love to just be able to talk about this movie without spoilers, but so many big things happen in this movie that it would be really hard for me to talk about it without mentioning spoilers. So, just be warned, I am going to ruin the movie for you. So, story real quick, it's set sometime after the Avengers. They never specify how long it's been. I always like to believe all these new movies are going out at the same time, so it's like, why couldn't Iron Man come and help Captain America deal with Winter Soldier? Why couldn't Thor help Captain America deal with the Mandarin? I always say, they were all busy doing all this stuff at the same time, so that's why. Hold on, I just remembered something out. I want to put down for. So yeah, so basically the plot is basically there's S.H.I.E.L.D. is being corrupted, there's corruption within S.H.I.E.L.D., and Captain America and Black Widow and Nick Fury have to get to the bottom of it, but they're dealing with opposition from this hired gun known as the Winter Soldier, who is tied to Captain America's past in ways that I think most people going in know, just given the advertising. And yeah, that's basically it. So story, there's a lot of stuff I really like in the story in this movie. First off, I love how different this one feels from the last one. Outside of one thing, which I'll mention later, it doesn't feel like a rehash. We have a brand new setting. The tone of this movie and style are completely different. To complement that, they do have a new director. So, whereas the first one was a World War II movie, and I really like that style, this one is more of a political thriller, espionage movie. And first off, I love thriller, fugitive espionage stories. Those are... Sorry, something distracted me. Those are a lot of fun, really exciting. Clone Wars, one of my favorite arcs was a fugitive story, so I really like that. And again, it was a really good way just to make this movie feel different from the last movie, and it was really refreshing. And I really like the moral dilemmas. I really like Captain America and what he has to go through. I'll probably touch on this again when I talk about the characters, but the idea of him, coming to terms with how much the world has changed and how much S.H.I.E.L.D. has changed, and him trying to adapt and find his place. I really like that. And I also like S.H.I.E.L.D., the idea of, control, secrecy, traitors in the mist. I really liked all of that. That was really interesting. And I really like the resolution they have to this whole, secrecy, and it was a little too complicated for me, and that might be a criticism, but that's, again, I think for previewings, and I probably will see this film again, because I did not, there's some stuff I missed at. Hang on, just remembered something. So, sorry about to do this, but I just need to put it down now. But hang on, so where was I? Oh yeah, so I really like the resolution they have to this whole dilemma of secrecy and stuff, and I'm really curious to see where they go with that in future films, like Avengers 2. They're probably going to touch on it in Avengers 2, and Captain America 3, and I guess to an extent Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., although I really Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., for as much as they like to hype it up, it's just, yeah. But yeah, so what else was good? First half of this movie I really liked. Lots of fun action. There was variety. There's lots of chases, hiding. It's like there's a car chase. There's bike chase. There's like the classic. If you've seen movies like The Fugitive or stuff, there's a lot of fun with like Shield coming after Captain America and him hiding and him doing stuff with Black Widow. Again, really good moral dilemmas. It's really well paced, really well spaced out, and it's really engaging. And to a point, I was like, oh my gosh, this might actually be one of my new favorite Marvel movies. And what's also nice, but again, I think it falls apart in the second half a bit, but I'll go into that later. And I also like how you don't have to have seen like the last Captain America movie to get this one, or if you forget it, the film's really smart. There's a scene in the movie where Captain America goes to the Smithsonian Museum and there's an exhibit about him, and the exhibit basically just summarizes who Captain America is and everything he's done, which is really nice if you haven't seen or don't know what happened in the last movie, because there's a bunch of people who are probably going to go into this who were introduced to Captain America in Avengers and probably never got around to seeing the first one. So it's a really nice way to bring everyone up onto speed with what happened in that movie. So if you're one of those people, it's like, I need to rewatch all the movies. Relax. It helps and I would recommend it, but you don't need to. You could just jump into this one without watching it, but again, recommended. Also, they remind you who Bucky is, which I think is really nice, so that way when we learn spoilers, if the Winter Soldier is Bucky, it's not like, who's that guy? It's like, oh yeah, it's that guy who we were reminded about in the beginning of the movie. So that was really clever. Characters are pretty good in this movie too. Captain America's likable. Again, as I said before, I really like seeing him fit into modern day. I like his dilemma with S.H.I.E.L.D. and his morals. Also, Black Widow fans, rejoice. This is a really, really good movie for Black Widow. And, oh yeah, sorry if the sound, it's not lip synced. I have no clue what's wrong with that. Just like put footage of Captain America over this video if it's that way for you, because I don't know how to fix it, and oh yeah, you can just listen to my voice. It's like a podcast, but if you don't see this, then you probably think I'm crazy. But anyway, if you're a fan of Black Widow, you need to see this movie. She is front and center in this movie. She is really active. She has a big role. She's constantly running around, doing stuff, shooting stuff. It's a lot of fun. Winter Soldier's really cool. There's lots of, whenever he's on screen, there's some really good action of him and fighting. And my document will not scroll down. There it goes. So that was cool. Scroll up. My computer's slowing down. And before I go, there is a cameo of someone from one of the other Marvel movies, and it's Happy, the character Jon Favreau plays. It's kind of cool, not as exciting as, the cameo from the last movie, but it was still fun. And Stan Lee had a fun cameo. Way this film was shot, there's lots of really good practical effects, and action scenes are really good and a lot of fun. So you might be thinking to yourself, why don't I like this movie as much? Why isn't this one of my favorite Marvel superhero movies? And there's a lot of issues I have, but I think the biggest one is an issue I have of a lot of that a couple of the superhero films I've seen had, specifically Avengers and Man of Steel, and there's way too much action. Now don't get me wrong, I love action. Action is fun. I love action, but in moderation. You can't just give me over-the-top action scene after an over-the-top action scene. You need to space it out. You need to vary up how big each action scene is or what's happening. And for the first half of this movie, they were pretty good about spacing out the action. Like, the fact that the film really doesn't start going until like 30 minutes in. The first half hour is just setting up Captain America, his relationship with S.H.I.E.L.D., and it's really good. And they space out the action. It's really short. It's fun. It doesn't overstay its welcome. But when you get into the second half, every action scene is like really big and over the top. So by the time you get to the really big action scene, climax scene, I was just exhausted and wanted to end. Like, again, like Man of Steel, like, it was just like so much big action. It was a little too much, and I wish it was spaced out more. And so For as much as I didn't like Thor: The Dark World, at least that movie spaced out its action pretty well. Like, the other Marvel films have done this, but I'm just saying Thor: The Dark World because it was the last movie. Thor, you had a mini big battle at the beginning, slowed down, lots of character moments, kind of big action scene of invasion, but not really. Slow down, lots of character, kind of fun action, a little chase, not too much, nothing too big. And then we have our climax, which is kind of big, but not really. It's more fun with portals and stuff. And I'm trying to think what else. So there's portals. It's funny. It doesn't overstay its welcome. This is just so big. It's over the top. And there's been so much action at this point that I was honestly a bit bored. And I just feel like you could have trimmed the film down, maybe cut out an action scene. Because of so much action, I really felt this film's length, which partially is due to the action scenes. It might also be due to the fact that I saw this in an AMC theater, and they showed like 20 minutes of previews. Like, I'm serious. They started showing the previews at like 6. I don't want to say it, but it was like it was like 20 minutes to the hour when the preview started. I just don't want to say the time in case anyone wants to track. In case people are going to try and track me, just don't fear. But it was like 20 minutes to an hour, and then the film started at the hour. So, and then it was like 2 hours and 15 minutes, including the credits and end credit scene. So, I'm blanking out. Oh. So, you have all this lengthy stuff. So yeah, so in total, this movie, for me, because of all this was almost 2.5 hours. Again, partially due to the previews, but it still felt really lengthy, and I was just exhausted. I mean, I had to get up and go to the bathroom like 2 times during this movie. 2 times. So yeah. So let's see. Other issues I have with the story, it's a little too complicated, but again, maybe if I see it again, I'll understand a bit more. And also, I did get up and go to the bathroom during like 2 of the big exposition scenes, one of which is when Captain America is talking to the bad guy right before the elevator action scene. I mean, I got the gist of it. It was like, you know something. No, I don't. And then the next one where they find Nick Fury alive. I'm sorry. I had to pee, and the movie was like really long. So yeah, that was it. Also, this film was kind of a rehash of the first one in the fact that our climax is Captain America fighting someone on a plane, and Captain America almost dies. So, alright. Lastly, characters. First off, I feel like the film drops Captain America's dilemma of dealing of fitting in society. Like, I feel like after the first act, they just drop it and they really don't address it ever again, which is kind of a shame, because Iron Man 3, they were very good about keeping Tony's post-traumatic stress disorder throughout the movie. This one, I don't feel like they did as much with it. Also, the Winter Soldier was a little disappointing. He was cool when he was on screen, but I feel really misled. Like, the film's called Winter Soldier, yet it's not so much about the Winter Soldier. It's more about Captain America dealing with all this political intrigue and S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff. And occasionally the Winter Soldier shows up. And I don't honestly feel like we got enough of him and a lot of him dealing with Captain America. And I wish they had given him more focus, since he is the title of the movie. But again, I feel like a lot of this is more just the advertising and then playing up, it's the Winter Soldier. And I feel like had the film not played him up so much, if they just called it Captain America 2 and really didn't play up the Winter Soldier aspect, I would have been like, oh, this is cool, I'd like to know more. Whereas now I'm a bit more disappointed because I was expecting him to be prominent in this movie, but he's not. But again, I think not focusing on him does leave it open to a sequel, and I am curious to see where they go with the character. Although, again, what are they going to call the next one? Captain America and the Winter Soldier again? Also, if you see this movie in 3D, don't bother seeing this movie in 3D. It's not worth it. I did, but that's just because the time worked better for me. It was at an earlier time. Also, they meant when in the scene where they're interviewing Agent Sitwell about what the bad guys are up to, he mentions a possible threat is Stephen Strange, and I wonder if that's a reference to Doctor Strange. But I looked up his name online. I think it's Victor Strange or whatever. So anyway, my thoughts on the movie. It's fun. If you're a fan of the Marvel movies, definitely go see it. You'll probably have a good time with it. I did. If you aren't a fan of these movies, then there's nothing. You aren't. then this film won't do much to change your mind. By this point, you know what to expect. If it's some fun action, some good characters. Again, fans of it know what they're getting into, and they'll probably have a good time. Non-fans, not so much. But you should see this film if you are considering seeing Avengers 2, because it is really going to tie into that film. I feel like I'm curious to see where the events of this film go in that one. And, oh yeah, make sure you stay after for the end credit scene. There's 2 this time, so if you see one, stay until the very end. There is another one. Don't do what everyone in my theater did and get up like after the first one, because you are going to miss one. But yeah, so those are my thoughts. It's a fun movie. I don't think it's as of right now, it's a bit better than Thor: The Dark World because it's more, but I feel like the action weighs it down. Iron Man 3 is my favorite of this second phase so far, but we do have one more film, 2 more films left, so we'll have to wait and see. Although I am starting to get tired of these superhero movies. Like, my dad was complaining about, my brother's starting to, I'm starting to. Really hope we get another amazing superhero movie soon. It's fun, entertaining, but, kind of disappointed. Kind of was expecting more, but I am glad I saw it. So, those are my thoughts. I'll have a written review of this film, and a link to my written review of this film in the description below, so if you want to see more, just check that out. Although if it's not there, it's because I'm still writing it. I haven't written it at this point, but I will. And yeah, this is JStar360, signing out. Oh yeah, and please leave your thoughts on the movie below. I'd be really curious to hear about them.